Choose train that feels sad. Right. This is Edward. Edward feels the sad, as I forgot to help Thomas deliver cargo. Edward arrived at the station, and saw how the minions steal the bananas. What feels Edward, after the minions stole the bananas? Sad. Happy. Right. Edward feels angry after the minions stole the bananas. Sometime later, Billy the aircraft helped deliver Edward a very large box. What feels Edward, after Billy helped him to deliver a box? Angry. Surprise. Right. Edward feels very happy, after the plane Billy helped him deliver a big box. Sometime later, on the island began a volcanic eruption. Paw Patrol asked Edward to help stop the eruption. What feels Edward, after Paw Patrol asked for help? Happy. Sad. Right. Edward feels surprise, after a Paw Patrol has asked for help. Select the train, which feels very happy. Right. This is Henry. Henry feels very happy after he met his old friends. Henry drove to the station, the fireworks, when suddenly a box of fireworks fell on the railway track and exploded. What feels Henry, after the bridge exploded? Happy. Surprise. Very happy. That's right. Henry feels guilty after the bridge exploded. Sometime later, Henry was driving around town, and suddenly he saw a superhero Captain America. What feels Henry, after seeing superhero Captain America? Angry. Happy. That's right. Henry feels the surprise, after seeing Captain America. Sometime later, Henry drove past the ocean and saw a very beautiful sunset. What feels Henry, after he saw a very beautiful sunset? Very happy. Embarrassment. That's right. Henry feels happy, after seeing a beautiful sunset. Choose train that feels surprise. Right. This is Emily. Emily feels surprise, after she saw a burning forest. Emily forgot to help Gordon. Gordon was upset due to the fact that Emily did not help Gordon. Sir Topham had angry with Emily. What Emily feels after she upset Gordon? Surprise. Sad. Right. Emily feels guilty after she upset Gordon. Sometime later, Emily looked up at the sky, and suddenly she saw a super steam train flying in the sky. What Emily feels after she saw the super train flying in the sky? Sad. Embarrassment. Right. Emily feels the surprise, after seeing the super train flying in the sky. Sometime later, Emily drove past the frozen lake, and suddenly she saw Olaf, a funny snowman. What feels Emily, after seeing a funny snowman? Embarrassment. Sad. Right. Emily feels very happy, after seeing a funny snowman. Select the train which feels anger. Right. It is Toby. Toby feels anger as he isn't taken in big races. Toby went by the wood and saw the got lost boy. Toby was surprised and called rescuers for the boy. The emergency helicopter arrived and saved the boy. What is felt Toby after the got lost boy was saved? Embarrassment. Sad. Right. Toby feels very happy after boy was saved. Sometime later, miners needed a new coach for coal, and they asked to deliver a new coach at Toby. Toby delivered a new coach in time for miners. What is felt Toby after he delivered the coach for coal in time? Very happy. Embarrassment. Right. Toby feels surprise after he delivered a new coach in time. Sometime later, friends presented to Toby a new cleaner. What is felt Toby after friends presented to Toby a new cleaner? Embarrassment. Right. Toby is felt very happy after friends presented him a new cleaner. Choose train that feels angry. Right. This is James. James feels angry after being lied to Diesel and gave him candy. James saw his good friend, a super train. Super train was going to save people, but the way he blocked the broken boxes, but the super train flew them and flew away. What feels James once met a good friend? Very happy. Angry. That's right. James feels happy after I met a good friend of Super Train. Sometime later, James met Etienne, and Etienne told James that he will defeat James in the big race. What feels James after Etienne told him that he will win it in the big race? Very happy. Happy. That's right. James feels anger after Etienne told him that he will win it in the big race. Sometime later, James looked at nature, and suddenly from the trees flew a small dragon. What James feels after he saw the little dragon? Angry. That's right. James feels very happy after seeing little dragon. Choose train that feels surprise. Right. This is Edward. Edward feels the surprise after he saw the big balloon flies to the earth, a large meteorite. If the meteorite falls on the earth, a lot of people will suffer. Luckily James came and destroyed the meteorite with missiles. What feels Edward after James saved the earth? Sad. Angry. Right. Edward feels very happy after James saved the earth. Sometime later, James was asked to deliver a lot of barrels with honey. Ashima came and helped to deliver the barrels of honey. What feels Edward after Ashima came and helped him? Very happy. Sad. Right. Edward feels happy after Ashima helped him. Sometime later, Edward rode through the forest and suddenly an eagle flew and scared him. What feels Edward once an eagle scared him? Very happy. Happy. Right. Edward feels the sad after the eagle scared him. Choose train that feels anger. Right. It's Emily. Emily feels anger because she forgot to buy a gift for Thomas. Emily drove past the mountains. In the distance she saw a flying Baymax. What feels Emily after he saw Baymax? Angry. Embarrassment. Surprise. Right. Emily feels very happy after seeing Baymax. Sometime later, Emily looked at the mountains. How suddenly the eruption of the volcano. What feels Emily after seeing a volcanic eruption? Angry. Embarrassment. Very happy. Right. Emily feels surprise after seeing a volcanic eruption. Sometime later, Emily drove past a beautiful forest, and suddenly she saw a large poop in the woods. What feels Emily after seeing a large poop? Embarrassment. Very happy. Surprise. Right. Emily feels anger after saw a large poop in the woods. Choose train that feels surprise. Right. This is Percy. Percy feels the surprise after his friends gave him a cake. Percy arrived at the station to look at space through a telescope, and then he saw a lot of interesting. What feels Percy after he looked at space through a telescope? Angry. Sad. Right. Percy feels happy after seeing the space. Sometime later, Percy forgot to deliver in the zoo's elephant, and instead of Percy, the elephant in the zoo brought Harold. What feels Percy after Harold had brought the elephant to the zoo instead of Percy? Angry. Happy. Right. Percy feels sad after Harold brought the elephant to the zoo. Sometime later, Percy was going home, and on the railroad, he saw a sad Tom. What feels Percy after seeing sad Tom? Happy. Angry. Right. Percy feels sadness after seeing a sad Tom. Choose train that feels guilty. Right. Thomas feels guilty after he forgot to help Toby to deliver the goods. Thomas and friends drove to the station past the jungle, and suddenly they saw a big gorilla. What feels Thomas after he saw the gorilla? Embarrassment. Very happy. Sad. Right. Thomas feels the surprise after seeing a large gorilla. Sometime later, Thomas went to the aid of James, suddenly threw up the railroad track. What feels Thomas once lit the railroad track? Very happy. Surprise. Right. Thomas feels anger once through the railroad track. Sometime later, Thomas and friends came to the parade and they saw the beautiful fireworks. What feels Thomas after seeing the beautiful fireworks? Sad. Surprise. Angry. Right. Thomas feels very happy after seeing the beautiful fireworks. Choose a train who feels surprise. Right. It's Edward. Edward feels the surprise after seeing the dragon. Edward forgot to say that the road is broken and Chuggington fell into the pit.
What feels Edward after Chuggington fell into the pit?
Very happy. Angry. Sad.
Right. Edward feels guilty after Chuggington fell into the pit.
Sometime later.
Edward was supposed to deliver balls to the feast, but all the balls flew. What feels Edward after the balloons flew away?
Embarrassment. Sad.
Right. Edward feels anger after the balloons flew away.
Sometime later.
Edward saw his old friend T-Rex on the island. What feels Edward after seeing an old friend T-Rex?
Angry. Sad. Embarrassment.
Right. Edward feels very happy after seeing old friend T-Rex.
Choose train that feels afraid. Right. This is Toby. Toby feels afraid as scared of the monster. Toby drove past the road, and he saw the woman on the scooter, drove to the zoo giraffe. What feels Toby after he saw the giraffe? Sad. Very happy. Exactly. Toby feels surprise after he saw the giraffe. Sometime later. Toby had to brake sharply, and managed to miss by running deer. What feels Toby after he managed to miss the deer? Sad. Surprise. Exactly. Toby feels very happy after missed deer. Sometime later. Toby remembered that he had forgotten to go for a walk with Thomas and friends. What feels Toby after he forgot to go for a walk with Thomas and friends? Very happy. Surprise. Right. Toby feels the sad after forgot to go for a walk with Thomas and friends. Choose a train who feels surprise. Right. It's Emily. Emily feels the surprise after seeing the big elephant. Emily was driving past the field, and suddenly she saw orange. Banana. Pear. Apple. They all said how good it is to eat fruits, as they contain a lot of vitamins. What feels Emily after seeing fruit? Angry. Surprise. Very happy. Right. Emily feels very happy after seeing the fruit. Sometime later. Emily drove past the lake, and she saw a sea monster. What feels Emily after seeing the sea monster? Embarrassment. Angry. Very happy. Surprise. Right. Emily feels the surprise after seeing the sea monster. Sometime later, Emily remembered that I forgot to help the dinosaur buddy and his friend. What Emily feels after she forgot to help dinosaur buddy and his friend? Very happy. Angry. Embarrassment. Right. Emily feels shame after he forgot to help the dinosaur buddy and his friend. Choose train that feels angry. Right. It's Thomas. Thomas feels angry because he forgot to make an important order. Thomas had to go across the bridge, but the bridge was broken from the storm, but suddenly he helped Cranky. What feels Thomas after Cranky has helped Thomas to cross the bridge? Sad. Surprise. Very happy. Right. Thomas feels very happy after Cranky helped him cross the bridge. Sometime later, Thomas saw Gordon was driving home, and suddenly a witch appeared and turned Gordon into a robot. What feels Thomas after Gordon turned into a robot? Very happy. Sad. Surprise. Right. Thomas feels surprise after Gordon turned into a robot. Sometime later, Thomas saw that a big storm starts, and he had to cancel delivery of orders. What feels Thomas after the storm? Sad. Very happy. Angry. Right. Thomas feels angry after the storm. Choose train that feels surprise. Absolutely right. This is Henry. Henry feels the surprise after seeing a large dinosaur. Henry had broken all of the buffer at the repair station. He put in a new buffer. What feels Henry after he put the new buffer? Angry. Embarrassment. Right. Henry feels very happy after he put in a new buffer. Sometime later, Buddy Tyrannosaurus asked Henry to bring his friend home. What feels Henry once brought a friend Buddy home? Angry. Embarrassment. Right. Henry feels happy after brought home a buddy friend. Sometime later, Henry saw Thomas, and Henry suddenly remembered that it would soon be Halloween party. What feels Henry after he remembered that soon there will be Halloween party? Embarrassment. Angry. Right. Henry feels surprise after he remembered about the Halloween party. Select the train, which feels very happy. Right. This is James. James feels very happy after he saw the beautiful fireworks. Sir Topham Hatt asked James to do the important work. He was asked to deliver toys for children at Christmas. What James feels after he has delivered toys for children? Angry. Embarrassment. Exactly. James feels happy after he has delivered toys for children. Some time later, James stood at the station. He suddenly saw wet snow fall. What feels James after he saw the snow? Embarrassment. Angry. That's right. James is feeling very happy
Sometime
after
later,
he saw the snow. Gordon and Thomas came to rest at the lake, but they forgot to call James. What feels James after Thomas and Gordon forgot to invite him to the lake? Happy. Embarrassment. Exactly. James feels anger after Gordon and Thomas forgot to invite him to the lake. Select the train that feels happy. That's right. It's Gordon. Gordon feels happy because soon it will be Christmas. Night. Gordon went home to sleep, and I saw on the field a lot of snowmen skate in the snow on a sled. What feels Gordon after he saw riding on a sleigh snowmen? Very happy. Embarrassment. Happy. Right. Gordon feels the surprise after seeing riding a sleigh snowman. Sometime later, Gordon drove past the frozen lake, and suddenly he saw in the sky flying Santa Claus. What felt Gordon after he saw the flying Santa? Happy. Embarrassment. Angry. Right. Gordon feels very happy after seeing the flying Santa. Sometime later, Gordon forgot to clean the road from snow, and because of his mistake, got stuck on the road. Thomas. What feels Gordon after he forgot to clean the road from snow? Surprise. Angry. Happy. Very happy. Right. Gordon feels guilty after he forgot to clean the road from snow.
Choose train that feels shame. Right. It's Thomas. Thomas feels shame after he forgot to warn Percy about the party. Thomas went to Emily to help her, when suddenly on the field, he saw a herd of cows. In a moment came the aliens, and took one of the cows. What feels Thomas after he saw the aliens?
Embarrassment. Very happy. Angry.
Right. Thomas feels surprisingly after he saw aliens.
Sometime later,
Thomas was going to bed, as Diesel suddenly scared him. What feels Thomas after Diesel scared him?
surprise. Very happy. Embarrassment.
Right. Thomas feels anger after the diesel engine scared him.
Sometime later,
Thomas met the train of the hero, and the hero asked him to walk with him. What feels Thomas, after the train hero invited him for a walk?
Surprise. Angry. Embarrassment.
Right. Thomas feels very happy, after the train hero invited him to walk. Choose train that feels sadness. Right, it's Emily. Emily feels sad because she flipped the car with the apples. Emily went to the farm to help Brian, but Brian told Emily that he no longer needed help because he already did it for me. What feels Emily, after he learned that Brian did it all himself?
Embarrassment. Very happy.
Right, Emily feels surprise, after hearing what Brian did it all himself.
Sometime later.
Emily went to order, through a very high bridge, and she saw a very beautiful landscape. What feels Emily, after seeing a beautiful landscape?
Embarrassment. Angry.
Right, Emily feels very happy after seeing a very beautiful landscape.
Sometime later.
Emily remembered that she had forgotten to meet his old friend the steam locomotive. What feels Emily after remembered that I forgot to meet a friend?
Angry. Very happy.
Right, Emily feels shame after he forgot to meet a friend.
Select the train that feels shame. Right, this is Toby. Toby feels shame, because he forgot to help Thomas deliver cargo. Paw Patrol and Harold was asked to help Toby to deliver puppies on a very important mission. What feels Toby, after Paw Patrol asked for his help? Angry. Sad. Very happy. Right. Toby feels the surprise, after Paw Patrol asked for his help. Sometime later. Toby asked to deliver a lot of boxes. Kevin helped load all the boxes for Toby. What feels Toby, after Kevin helped him? Angry. Sad. Surprise. Right, Toby feels very happy, after Kevin had helped him to load all of the boxes for shipping. Sometime later. Toby met Diesel, and Diesel said that Toby has no time to meet all friends. What feels Toby, after he learned that will not have time to visit all friends? Angry. Surprise. Very happy. Right, Toby feels sad, after he learned that he had not enough time to meet with all friends. Select the engine, which feels very happy. Right, it's Thomas. Thomas feels very happy after his friends gave him a gift. Thomas forgot to tell Gordon that the bridge is broken. Because of this, Gordon had an accident. What feels Thomas after Gordon got into an accident? Surprise. Sad. Angry. Very happy. Right, Thomas feels guilty after Gordon got into an accident. Sometime later, Thomas was asked to do a difficult job. Toby decided to help Thomas. What feels Thomas after Toby decided to help him? Angry, sad, embarrassment, very happy. Right. Thomas feels the surprise after Toby decided to help him. Sometime later, Sir Topham had awarded Thomas for a job well done. What feels Thomas after Sir Topham had awarded him? Sad, surprise, angry, embarrassment. That's right. Thomas feels very happy after receiving the award. Select the engine that feels happy. Right, it's Percy. Percy feels happy after he was instructed to deliver an important building materials. Percy came to help Oliver. Oliver told him that his help is no longer needed because they have already helped Thomas. What feels Percy after he learned that his help is no longer needed? Oliver. Happy, sad, angry. Exactly. Percy feels very sad after he realized that his help is no longer needed. Oliver. Sometime later, Percy saw Bertie and asked Bertie if he needs help in transportation of passengers. Bertie said that he did not need his help. James has helped him.
What feels Percy after he learned that his help is not needed? Bertie, as he helped James.
Happy, sad, very sad.
Right. Percy feels anger after he learned that Bertie doesn't need his help.
Sometime later,
Sad Percy went to the station, as suddenly, it flew funny bird. A bird began to sing and to fly near Percy. What feels Percy after near him flew and sang a funny bird?
angry, very sad, sad.
Right. Percy is feeling happy after funny bird singing him songs.
Today Thomas and his friends dressed up in superhero costumes because it's Halloween. Choose a train in a suit. Wolverine. Right, it's James. James happy after he and his friends decided to go collect candy on Halloween night. James drove past the scary swamp, and suddenly he saw through the swamp is flying scary witch on her broomstick. What feels James after he saw a witch on a broom? Sad, surprise, angry. That's right. James feels scary after he saw a flying witch on a broom. Sometime later, James went to his friends and suddenly he saw a scarecrow. The scarecrow was good and told him a funny story. What feels James after the scarecrow told him a funny story? Sad, angry, scared. Exactly. James feels the surprise after the scarecrow told him a funny story. Sometime later, James with his friends decided to check how much candy they have collected. It turned out that they gathered not so much candy as they wanted. What James feels after he found out that he has collected enough candy with your friends? Angry, scared, surprise, That's right. James feels sad after he learned that he and his friends gathered not so much candy as they wanted. Choose the engine who's feeling surprise. Yes, it's Edward. Edward feels the surprise after Thomas helped deliver him the goods. Edward invited all her friends for her birthday, but forgot to invite James. What are the feelings of Edward after they forgot to invite James on his birthday? Happy. Angry. Right. Edward feels sad after he forgot to invite James to your birthday. Sometime later, Edward went to his friends, and suddenly in the forest, he saw a large dinosaur. What are the feelings of Edward after seeing the big dinosaur? Happy. Angry. Right. Edward feels surprised after seeing a large dinosaur. Sometime later, Edward was driving behind an important order to the station, but on the track after a strong wind, road sign fell and blocked the path. What feels Edward after realize that he can't get to the station for an important order? Happy. Surprise. Exactly. Edward feels anger after he realized that he can't get to the station for an important order.